Welcome back to Game Tiered, a series where I review a game and tier list it at the end, adding to the tier list as the series goes on. Today's game, Costume Quest 2, released by Double Fine Productions for the Xbox One in 2014. Alright, this beginning is kind of odd. We start in a portal room where we can access some settings, exit the game, and start a new game. Just gotta delete this first, don't worry about that. I accidentally skipped the intro cutscene and had to start a new game. Actually, I should mention this since I think it's important to get out of the way. This is the first time revisiting a series, so if you haven't watched the first Costume Quest video, you can do so here. But this makes it kind of difficult on how to proceed since I don't know if I should mention things in this game as just part of the game or as differences from previous games in the same series. We'll see what happens. Anyway, starting a new game, we'll choose our character. Either Ren, the girl, or Reynold, the boy. Getting pushed by Ren through the portal, we're back at our neighborhood. That's odd, it wasn't Halloween when we left. Turns out we time traveled. Kinda cool. Lucy and Everett leave, and we get to talk to our parents, and we see our dentist, Dr. White. Seems kind of fidgety. Must just be chilly. Anyway, we walk around some more and see this old time wizard. We don't learn his name, but him and Dr. White jump in and later out of a clock portal. And he pulls a pin out of a Grubbin stuffy, and oh god, we're under attack. Oh god. Suddenly, a random guy comes to our aid and helps us escape, and we jump through another clock portal. Suddenly, we're in the future. Oh, this is a time travel game. Anyone else remember this trend from like the mid-2010s? Sly Cooper Thieves in Time, Plants vs. Zombies 2, Titanfall 2 had that one level, where the game's setting was time travel. Personally, I don't really have an issue with it, though I've always taken issue with games, and it really does seem to be only with games that do this, treating time travel like teleportation. And me even bringing that up is making me want to go on a dangerously long physics rant, so I'll just suspend my disbelief and move on. Though it is honestly really cool when characters are able to think fourth dimensionally, which is the case here, but I'm getting ahead of myself. First, we have a tutorial of the game's combat. Getting our costumes. Oh god, it's a crest railer. It's Corvus, here to teach us how to play. Much like the first game, it has a turn-based timing system. Actually, has anyone ever played the Paper Mario games? It's kind of like that. Actually, this is a lot different from the first game, but we'll get to that as we progress. For now, we unlock two costumes. The superhero, who will punch enemies and deal massive damage to all enemies with their special, and the second costume is Candy Corn. It does nothing. Literally, you can't attack with it. A random message will pop up and move on. There's actually an achievement for beating the entire game with Candy Corn being in your party the entire game. Later on, I realized this, but I'll mention it here, that costumes now have more stats than increasing or decreasing our health and attack. They also have strengths and weaknesses versus certain enemy types. These three types, as far as I'm aware, are magic, monster, and tech. These replace the old enemy class system of melee, ranged, healer, and wizard. Oh, hey, our ability meter progress is saved between battles. That's cool. You can probably save it when you need it to deal tons of damage at the beginning of a battle. Foreshadowing is a literary device. Anyway, different costumes will deal less or more damage to certain enemies and take less or more damage from certain enemies. And all costumes now have the same quick time attack, though the animations are different, and instead of battle stamps, creepy treat cards make a return as usable items in battle, usually once per battle, but some have very long recharge times, requiring us to go multiple battles having to equip a different card. Oh, also, I can't believe I forgot to mention this. We can speed throughout the entire game now. In the first game, it was an overworld ability tied to a specific costume. that restriction no longer exists. Going back to Lucy and Everett, oh yeah, the two adults that helped us escape was Lucy and Everett. They tell us to jump through the time portal again since it's our only escape from the guards right now. And we're in the past, where we meet our first real enemies, cronies. They're here for the talisman the dentist uses later. Anyway, beating those enemies, we meet another kid named Monty, who owns a bunch of gators, and we need to hit some of them to gain some costume pieces to unlock the clown costume. They have a horn. After that, we meet another kid. I think he's a skeleton named Lil Bones. Oh god, is that Big Bones as a kid? That's kinda cool. There's other coincidences that happen in this region, but it's never bothered me for reasons I'm trying not to get into since I'm actively trying to avoid a time travel rant. Anyway, I did some trick-or-treating since Lil Bones said that if we give him a bunch of candy, he would take us across the lake to get the talisman before Dr. White. Remember when I said our special bars are saved between fights? So is our health. And we can heal outside of battle by either eating candy or healing at fountains, which also save our games whether we heal or not. Walking around more, I found all the parts to a costume, but not its pattern. Along the way, I ran into Shady. He sells us creepy tree cards as well as costume upgrades, which just increase our stats and changes our appearance. It's pretty cool. And also maps that show us which houses we still need to go to, which I really like. That is an insane improvement over the first game. Anyway, I finally got all the houses done and our candy was stolen. I'll have to find that kid, but I lost him, so I went back to Corvus to teach us about extra attacks. Yeah, this really is like Paper Mario. Moving on, I proved that Primus sucks. God, I really hope someone gets that reference. It would take too long for me to explain it, but it got us the Pterodactyl's costume, allowing us to finally blow a pile of leaves that was blocking us from chasing down that kid that stole our candy. And we have 3 costumes now, so no more candy corn. Yippee! And we gave Lil Bones his candy, but the boat is broken, so we paid a mechanic $50 for an oar. Where did we get the $50? That's how. It's a side quest that's not really a side quest. Moving on. Going across the lake, Lil Bones fixes the boat, and we decide to fight some more enemies on our way to this family of witches and warlocks. Hey, it's Dorzilla and Dorian. They're in the first game as adults. I guess this is how her and Big Bones met now. Huh. Anyway, after trying to convince everyone that they're in grave danger and they brush us off, Dr. White and his time wizard show up to steal the talisman. And we have a boss fight against Kronos, the time wizard. He's not too hard, but I kinda screwed up at one point. When you get his health down low enough, he uses his clock to rewind time, but this takes a few rounds, and I thought you had to attack the clock before he goes back, but that didn't stop him. When I got him back to where he made his clock attackable, I just attacked him directly and we won. Getting back to the time portal, it's not there. Oh god, us taking it from Kronos stopped Lucy and Everett from getting it. And this is probably my favorite part of the entire game. To solve the issue, we bury the clock in the ground and tell Monty that they have to remember that it's here for 20 years so that he can tell Lucy and Everett, which is pretty sick. Going back to the future, oh, he said the thing! The Back to the Future fan said the Back to the Future thing! We're all captured. Lucy and Everett are sent to a detention center, and we're enrolled into the Tooth Academy, a school teaching the dangers of Halloween. Our main goal here is to retrieve Everett and Lucy's daughter, Haley, or maybe Holly? I genuinely don't know how to pronounce this person's name. It doesn't matter. We need to break out of here, and to do so, we gather costume parts to make Jefferson, who can use diplomacy to get a janitor to move out of the way for us to get the rest of our costumes. Leaving the school, we're stopped by Bojim, and a pretty easy boss fight starts. He really is nothing special, just an enemy with a lot of health. Also, due to the similarities between Bojim and Bojan from Costume Quest 1, I actually went back to make sure that the character's name was Bojan, and I didn't make an insanely massive mistake, but no, in the first game he's called Bojan, but here he's called Bojim. Anyway, beating Bojim, we get into the sewers and reunite with Monty, and meet Sadie. She sold us battle stamps in the first game. She also said that she knows how to get into Dr. White's compound, but she won't tell us. Hi, so, editing acid here. I am an idiot. When I was rewriting the script, I wasn't looking at my footage, so things are kind of out of order than how they actually happened in the playthrough. It's nothing substantial, it just means that if you see me use a costume I haven't talked about, that's why, and I'll get to everything eventually. Just know that things might seem out of order, and that's because it is. This is where the Jefferson costume becomes truly useful. Whenever you're required to use diplomacy to progress, a character will usually mention nothing can be said to them that could change their mind. Pretty subtle until you realize it, and then it's the biggest alarm for diplomacy to prevail. Anyway, Sadie said she would give us what she knew if we ran her candy collection route. It's pretty easy, but some houses have sting operations. Just sounds like more trick-or-treating to me. Roaming around, I snuck attacked a tooth drone, a robotic set of teeth, and some dental guards. Just grubbins, trollbogs, I think crest whalers. I haven't seen any enemy quest whalers yet. They're all pretty similar to the first game's enemies, but seem more cyborgy? Oh, right, sneak attacks. What these do is when attacking an overworld enemy from behind, the game takes you into battle, but damages all enemies off rip, usually taking around 5% of their health. Something else that's cool is that since there's more houses than candy drop-offs, I actually collected all of the candy I needed before going to all of the houses. Obviously, I went to the last house and fought some enemies for the XP. Along the way, I also upgraded the superhero and clown, and even learned how to counter enemies by holding the proper button and releasing it at the right time from Corvus. Anyway, we got the candy, and Sadie said that she didn't know how to get into the complex, but she did give us the password to her boss's speakeasy. To get there, we needed the wizard, unlocked through exploring Auburn Pines. They have a magic wand that can light up dark hallways.
Whoa, what a cool
dark hallways.
How did you get here?
And they always deal splash damage in combat, which is pretty sick. Talking to Sadie's boss, Blob, we once again need to do some trick-or-treating. Except here, we need to deliver candy to his customers. Along the way, we found the Pharaoh costume, which lets us use zip lines and can revive defeated teammates in battle with their ultimate. Anyway, Blob tells us that he forgot how to break in. So he sends us to an elite speakeasy where the Elder tells us that if we can get his candy shipment, he'll give us a key to Dr. White's compound. Okay, so this gets pretty complicated. So let's see if I can do this in less than 3 voice lines, alright? Start this at 1. So, to get the candy, there's a grubbin elder that wants his own candy deliveries done, as well as a contract signed. So, we make our way over to the quest whaler elder, and he says that he won't sell his business while it's undervalued, so he writes another contract and gives it to us to give it to the trollbog elder. This is 2. So we make him laugh, and he makes a deal with us to sell the advertising space on a billboard, and the quest whalers find it acceptable, and he agrees to sell his property, so we go back to the grubbin to get him his signed contract, and the trollbog flies another billboard in front of the quest whalers billboard, but that's not our problem, and thankfully I visited all of the houses along the way, so I just went back to the elder and got the key. Oh yeah, I explained it in less than 3 voice lines. Oh, I also upgraded my wizard at some point during the Elder Quest. got better splash damage. Alright, we got the key, and of course there's a boss fight. This time it's against Auburn. This is kind of a cool fight. He announces who he'll attack, allowing us to land some counters. He was pretty easy, and we were able to reunite with Lucy and Everett and got stuck in jail. That's great. Anyway, Corvus gave us a letter telling us that he left costume parts across Dr. White's compound and we need to find it. There's 4 buildings in the research lab: the security building where we need a ghost costume to get into, a secret warehouse with an eye scanner, and this house. The ghost parts are all in this main compound area. I spent way too long trying to figure out how to get to this last one. I just needed to jump down beside the bushes. Anyway, we fought a snail. This is something I've neglected to mention up to this point, but this game has multiple snail and mole mini-bosses, and I find that extremely funny. Anyway, getting the ghost costume, we sneak into the security room and break Everett and Lucy out of their cell. And of course, Kronos wants a rematch. We kicked his ass. Anyway, we fight some more enemies to help Everett and Lucy sneak through the compound, and they help us into the research lab, where I immediately, upon loading, get attacked by a quest whaler. Finally they show up. And oh my god, these progressive chemist enemies are horrible. They have an attack that will set your entire party on fire, and there's no way to stop it outside of killing the enemy, which is pretty bad game design since it discourages you from engaging with the game's strengths and weaknesses system, instead just attacking a single enemy no matter what. Even if you disagree with me that it's bad game design and that shifting your effort to a single strong enemy makes things a bit more exciting, look at this fight. 3 chemists. How do I kill all of them before my entire party is taking fire damage for the rest of the fight? How is this fair? Granted, a single frustrating enemy and a single unfair fight isn't enough to drag the game down an entire tier, but my god, that fight really pissed me off. Anyway, going through the research lab, we find a hot dog costume, which will damage enemies on an initial attack. Not splash damage like the wizard, full attack damage, but the rebound only affects the targeted enemy, so it's still important to target who you want to deal the most amount of damage to. Oh my god, rebounds. Okay, I can't believe I forgot to put this in the script like 10 minutes ago when I unlocked it. So the way it works is on a successful attack, the game will allow us to perform a rebound attack for slightly less damage. Yeah, this is what really makes it feel like Paper Mario a lot, which isn't a bad thing, it's just an observation. Anyway, we got the timepiece, and now we need to get the talisman. Walking outside, we see that Dr. White uses his own retinal scan to open the warehouse door. Reporting back to Lucy and Everett, Haley leaves the party with her parents back to Autumn Pines. And we're back in the past to find Oral and use his eyes. I found him on the rooftops of the French Quarter along with the final kid playing hide and seek, upgrading our candy pail, which increases our attack and health. By how much? I never checked. Anyway, getting into the warehouse, we see that it's a completely fake neighborhood for Dr. White to go trick-or-treating in. It's kind of hilarious. And we have another round of trick-or-treating, except it's all parent robots, which did catch me off guard. Along the way, we overhear some crest whalers talking about a robot that Dr. White needs, so we steal some robot parts from bashing the trick-or-treat robots. And we unlock the floss robot, allowing us to get past any enemy, and when I tried to force the game to put it into battle, it changed me to the candy corn, so I fled battle. Anyway, once I unlocked it, I stowed away in the crates and it was delivered to Dr. White's bedroom, which let us grab the Grubbin talisman. And of course, we lost it anyway. Trying to get it back, Dr. White notices us and he tries to have a heart-to-heart with his past self. It doesn't really work. The final boss, it's pretty cool, and I actually retreated to actually try and optimize for this. Let's start with the battle loop. Dr. White has a monster body and will spawn attackable arms that will defend his body if not dealt with. They're also a different enemy type. Anyway, when optimizing, let's start with the costumes. Ghost, Pterodactyl, and Wizard. all strong against monster. No, I don't really care about the arms because for creepy tree cards, only one matters. Because the game only let me use one of the 3 cards that I had equipped. Anyway, it drains 25% of all enemies' health every turn for the rest of battle. So I just let the health drain do most of the work and went all out when he was vulnerable. He didn't even make it to a 3rd phase before we beat him. Once we beat Dr. White, he took one last chance to convince Oral to stay on his crazed path. But he is a changed man after seeing the error of his ways, leaving the timeline fixed and Halloween saved. We went back to Everett and Lucy's house and Oral goes back to the past. I promise I'm not doing any deceptive editing. After Oral leaves back to the past, we suddenly wake up in the present where we first saw Kronos, making me genuinely think mid-stream that this game is actually a dream game in addition to a time travel game. But no, we have our costumes, Dr. White definitely seems to remember us, and the present is changed with the addition of the Halloween treaty, letting monsters come to Earth to eat candy only on Halloween. Anyway, as the credits play, we're actually able to talk to a bunch of people, from Sadie, Lucy, and Everett, to our parents, to Mrs. Putterpam, and even Monty and Mink, who was the saxophone player during the clown honking montage that I kind of skipped over. We also get a genuinely awesome cameo, Zach Gorman, who made the Costume Quest book, Costume Quest Invader of the Candy Snatchers, which is pretty awesome. Also, because I have no idea where else to mention it, Costume Quest has a cartoon show that blew my mind when I learnt about it, because how do we have these but not like a Psychonauts cartoon or a Brutal Legend book or something, you know? This is a genuinely amazing game that improves on almost every aspect from the original, except maybe the going trick-or-treating with friends on Halloween night atmosphere the first game nailed. But with amazing gameplay, a story that I actually enjoyed paying attention to, and having an amazing send-off for the player, much like the first, I genuinely can't imagine putting Costume Quest 2 anywhere but S tier. Anyway, with that being said, let me know which games you would like to be added to the tier list in the future, and with every year on October 31st, I will be streaming the first Costume Quest from start to finish. So, yeah, take care everyone.